So welcome back, students. Today we will discuss on one of the important financial institutions, that is the commercial banks. As we all know, whenever we talk about a bank is considered as a financial institutions that deal with money. And whenever we talk about commercial banks, okay, they are the financial institutions that or whose main functions are to accept our deposits and provide its people with a loan. Actually, if we talk about banks, we have different types of banks in our country, India. We have the RBI as our reserve bank, and below the RBI, we have different types of banks. For example, yes, we have the commercial banks, we have the agricultural banks, we have the industrial banks, and so many more. Okay, so as for the syllabus, your syllabus is concerned, we will discuss only the two important banks, that is the commercial bank as well as the reserve bank. So for now, let us just talk on what is this commercial banks. Okay, so like what I've been stated just now, what are commercial banks? They are the financial institutions whose important functions are for accepting our deposits as well as for lending its people with a loan. And yes, if we talk about these deposits that are being received by a commercial banks, yes, they are of two types. One, which is referred to as the primary deposits, and the other, which is referred to as the secondary deposits. And again, talking about the commercial bank, it performs certain important function. One, it is to accept our deposits. Number two, it is to lending of loans. And number three, which is important, which is required for you to study, to concentrate, it is on the money creation of the commercial banks. Students, you have to keep in mind, like whenever we talk about the creation or the money creation, talking about that very point, yes, you have to keep in mind that like all banks cannot create or cannot issue currency or cannot issue money. The sole power of issuing currency is vested in the hands of the Reserve Bank of India. That means the Reserve Bank of India has absolute power to issue currency of different denominations, and it is the only institutions that has got this power, whereas other banks do not have the power to issue or to print currency notes. So talking about commercial banks, yes, even though it cannot issue or print currency notes, but it can create credit. Okay, so in this particular discussion, we will learn how a commercial bank creates credit. And yes, just for information's sake, yes, talking about the RBI, the different notes that we've been using, okay, it might be the 5 rupees, the 10 rupees, the 100, so on and so forth, okay, they are being issued by the Reserve Bank of India, whereas coins or the 1 rupee coin, they are being issued by the Ministry of Finance. So let us just focus or have our a talk on how these commercial banks create credit. Even though it does not have the power to issue currency notes, how can it expand? How can it create credit? In order to understand this this point, okay, let me just talk to you a little bit on certain important things. Okay, what happened is, we as the public, the people, Okay, we never save money at home, but instead, what do? We go to the banks. Okay, so what do you think the bank will do with our money? Our bank will not keep our money as idle like that, but it will use it for something profitable. Okay, what is necessary is, suppose I deposit certain sum of money in the bank. Okay, and out of the total sum that I deposits in the bank will keep it certain amount as reserves. Out of the total sum, what the bank will do will keep certain amount of my money as a reserve, known as the cash reserve ratio, or the CRR. Okay, which means every bank, okay, whenever a depositor came and deposits their money in the bank, okay, yes, definitely the bank will make use of that certain sum of money for lending. But before it lend, okay, what the bank will do, out of that total amount, it will keep certain percentage as a reserve. Okay, why as a reserve? Because the bank won't know when will that depositor will come and withdraw the money. So there is a need to keep a certain amount as reserve for that person. And that reserve is known as the cash reserve ratio, in which each and every bank need to keep it as a reserve for its depositor. So in order to get a clear understanding how a commercial bank can create credit, okay, let us take some sort of an example. Suppose there is a person, there is a Mr. A, okay, and this Mr. A, okay, what he did was he had certain sum of money with him in which he want to deposit it in the bank. Say he have 1,000 rupees. Okay, so one fine day, what this Mr. A did, he go to the bank, let's say the bank X, and deposits that 1,000 rupees in that particular bank, or in that bank X. So this 1,000 rupees that Mr. A is deposited in the bank X, this is referred to as the primary deposits. So like what I've been telling you just now, out of this 1,000 rupees, okay, the bank need to keep certain percentage as reserves for Mr. A. Okay, so let us suppose the bank kept 10% as the cash reserve ratio, or as the CRR. Okay, so if the bank keeps this 10% as the CRR for this 1,000 rupees, okay, there will be something, there will be some extra, that is 10% out of this 1,000. That means 100 rupees the bank will keep as the cash reserve ratio, whereas the remaining 900 rupees the bank will use it for lending purposes. Okay, and yes, in that way, let's say another person, yes, if we talk about the people, okay, there are some people who go to the bank to deposit certain sum of money, whereas some person do go to the bank to ask for a loan. Okay, so let us take another person, another example, another person, that is Mr. B. Mr. B again go to that bank, that very same bank, he asked for a loan. Okay, so what happened was the bank create an account in the name of Mr. B, and what the bank did will lend this 900 rupees to Mr. B. And again, what the bank did after creating the account of Mr. B in it, what happened was it will keep again 10% as the cash reserve ratio out of the 900 rupees. Okay, so if 10% out of the 900 rupees, there'll be 810 as an extra. Okay, so what happened was the bank will again lend out the 810 rupees to somebody else who need a loan. So this will keep on continuing, okay, will go on and on till the reserves with the bank is zero or become nil. Okay, so I've been giving you a small example so that you can get a clear understanding on how this commercial bank creates credit. Okay, how it creates credit is, yes, initially when this Mr. B asked for a loan, okay, asked for a loan, when he returned that sum of money, he have to return it with interest, isn't it? Okay, so if he return it with interest, who will gain? It is the bank. Okay, and another, if again with that same amount of money, this very same bank lend to Mr. C with that very same amount, I mean with that very sum of money, again when C returned the money, what happened was he will return again with an interest rate being fixed by the bank. Okay, so it seems as if the bank here through this process is gaining. Okay, it cannot issue currency, but it can create in this way. Okay, so this is how commercial banks, even though it cannot print or issue currency notes, but it can create credit.